good morning to you. It is Saturday, the 2nd of August. I'm Fauzia Ibrahim.
I'm Thomas Ariti. You're watching Weekend Breakfast.
Great to have your company this morning. Now, the Prime Minister will travel to the GARMA Festival in Arnhem Land today to announce a raft of economic measures aimed at improving the lives of Indigenous people.
It comes amid sustained criticism that the government had gone silent on Indigenous affairs. Dan Borsch is at the GARMA Festival and joins us now. Dan, good morning to you. What's the Prime Minister expected to say today?
Good morning. It's great to be with you here from Gulkula in Arnhem Land as this 25th anniversary GARMA Festival kicks off. And as you say, we are expecting the Prime Minister to arrive in the coming hours and really outline what is his reset, his plan for the future relations between his government and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And we expect that the Prime Minister will be very much focusing on an economic blueprint, an alliance, if you will, between the government and Indigenous organisations and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And we understand that the Prime Minister will be announcing around $100 million of new funding, predominantly aimed at the native title systems and structures, but also at TAFE and a whole range of other measures as well. We get the sense that the Prime Minister is going to be talking about the impact of policies in the past that haven't worked, as well as looking to the future and what is the direction that the government wants to take. And as you mentioned, there has been sustained criticism that the government, since the loss of the referendum in 2023, really stepped out of the space of Indigenous affairs. Last year we heard the Prime Minister announce an economic plan here at GARMA, but it didn't come with a time frame or deliverables or a new budget either. And there are still many who are saying, what about those commitments to the other elements of the Uluru Statement, treaty and truth-telling, that is, particularly Makarata, a term from the Yolngu people, which means coming together after conflict. Now, in amongst all of this, we understand that the opposition leader, Susan Lee, is also visiting Indigenous communities, not these ones, but in Western Australia, where we understand that Susan Lee is calling on the Prime Minister to outline in more detail the plans that he wants for relations between Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and the government. It must also be noted that Susan Lee, the new opposition leader, of course, hasn't outlined what her plans or visions for such relationships would be. And we are, of course, waiting to see if there's any detail to that end. But right here, the conversation today will be about what is the agenda of the government. The Prime Minister on his way, a number of ministers, including the Education Minister, as it turns out, not far behind me. And we're talking about this bigger picture of what is the agenda going forward. And I want to bring in Sean Gordon, who's a Wankamara and Bakunji man and an entrepreneur and businessman. Sean, great to have you along. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks for having me.
I'm keen to get your sense, your reaction to what we understand the Prime Minister will be detailing and outlining today.
Yeah, well, I understand that the Prime Minister will announce an economic strategy, and as I said, with an estimated investment of $100 million around that. I welcome that, and I think that's, it's a critical need in our communities, and definitely a step in the right direction. I guess the challenge I have is we've had these type of announcements previously, or in our recent history. If we look back 10 years ago with the announcement of the Indigenous procurement policy, has had great success, but it's had great success for the few and not for the many. And so I am concerned that this particular investment will benefit those who have capability, capacity to be able to tap into the opportunity, but it will leave behind many of our people, unfortunately, who are unable to tap into that due to the lack of investment in education and building their capability and capacity.
And I understand that you've written about this today, in fact saying that is this a case of even moving that gap that we're seeing right now into another area? It sounds like you've got a real concern that while this is, as you've touched on just there, great important announcements, that it doesn't go far enough to the pipelining of connecting people to these opportunities.
Well, I think the biggest challenge we have right now is we have the Close the Gap strategy, which as we know, assesses disparity between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. My concern now is that there is an ever-increasing gap between Indigenous people themselves, those who have capability, capacity, influence, are doing quite well out of these type of announcements, especially the economic announcements, whilst many of our people are being left behind. When I think about the education gaps, and we're sitting here in the Northern Territory, where average school attendance is sitting around 30%, how do we increase those numbers to ensure that our kids come out of school with the education to be able to tap into these opportunities that are being created? And right now we're not investing enough to get the education piece right, to address the disparity that is forever increasing between Indigenous people themselves.
And just finally, is it just education that is needed, or is there more to this? Is this also about longer plans and strategies that are locked in across the political divide so that there is certainty?
Look, I think what we need is greater coordination, collaboration and cohesion at a federal level. Unfortunately, everything Indigenous gets stuck in the National Indigenous Australia's Agency. Until other departments have greater responsibility and accountability to do more in the Indigenous affairs space, we're always going to be stuck in the NIAA box. At the same time, much of what we're doing is a top-down approach. I acknowledge the great work of the Coalition of Peaks and the work they're doing around improved service provision. And this new economic investment, again, a very much top-down approach. But until we're starting to organise and support communities at local and regional levels, because that's where the challenges are, we need to get much closer to where the challenges are, empower local people to be a part of the decision-making process and a part of the solutions to be able to drive the change that's needed at those levels. I believe in the principle of subsidiarity. How do you get decision-making as close as you can to the people that are impacted? Right now, we're not seeing anything come out of government that locks into that principle that empowers local people with a greater say on policies, programs, funding that impact them.
And you've long been advocating for that change to decision-making to be where it's at. I appreciate your time this morning, Sean. Great to have a chat with you this morning. Sean Gordon, businessman, entrepreneur, really talking through a response to what we expect to come out of that detail from the Prime Minister when he arrives here at the GARMA Festival in just a few hours' time. For now, back to you.
Dan Borscher, thank you.